Mapping 2026. Sometimes the best way to understand what's going on in the world is to look at a map. Here are 8 maps that highlight and explain events and trends to watch in the coming year, from urbanization in China to gold in Sudan. 1. What is the world's biggest city? To an alien gazing down from space, ignoring political boundaries and just mapping contiguous areas of high population density, the answer would be clear. The Pearl River Delta, a chain of southern Chinese cities that have fused into one vast sprawl. Its population is projected to reach 73 million people in 2026, just as a regional high-speed railway network, to bind it together, is due to be completed. TWO. How redistricting could affect America's midterm elections. Unlike most rich democracies, America grants politicians the power to draw electoral districts in many of its states. They use this power to maximize their party's electoral advantage by packing opposition voters into a small number of districts or cracking them between multiple districts where their votes are diluted. In Missouri, with the encouragement of President Donald Trump, Republicans cracked heavily Democratic Kansas City to erase a Democratic-held district. Republicans in Texas and Utah have also passed aggressive gerrymanders, and more states may follow. Democratic governors, notably California's Gavin Newsom, have pledged to respond in kind. One of the few restrictions on partisan gerrymandering has been Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which prevents states from drawing districts that dilute minority voters. A forthcoming Supreme Court ruling could weaken this provision, enabling Republican states in the South to attempt more ambitious gerrymanders and eliminate between 6 and 12 Democratic-held districts. This could grant Republicans as much as a 5 or 6 percentage point advantage in the House of Representatives if the new maps are in place in time for the midterm elections in November. 3. The dangerous allure of the Moon's South Pole. Plot the landing sites of space probes sent to the Moon, and you will notice something striking: a cluster around the lunar South Pole. 5 of the 13 landers that have been sent since 2019 went to that region, and 2 of the 4 probes due to launch in 2026 will be heading there too. About 40% of all lunar landers over that period, in short, have gone to a region accounting for just 7% of the Moon's surface. The South Pole is of particular interest because there is thought to be water ice in some of its permanently shadowed craters, which could be used to sustain a future lunar base and to make rocket fuel. The region is treacherous, however. 2 American probes sent to the South Pole, in 2024 and 2025, toppled over on the craggy terrain. The same craters that make it such an intriguing destination also make landing difficult. But efforts to explore the region, as America and China race to be the first to send astronauts there within the next few years, will continue in 2026. 4. Why Taiwan's terrain makes it vulnerable. The largest ports in Taiwan are on its northern and western coasts, close to the shipping lanes of the Taiwan Strait and facing the Chinese coast. This makes the island vulnerable to a potential naval blockade by China. Why not expand some of the smaller ports on the east coast, as an insurance policy? Taiwan's craggy terrain makes this impractical. 5 mountain ranges cover about 70% of its area, which is why most of the island's population lives in the west and north. Even if a large port were built on the unspoilt east coast, it would still be fiendishly difficult to connect it to Taiwan's main cities. 5. China's infrastructural insurance policies. Xi Jinping is believed to want his armed forces to be ready to invade Taiwan by 2027, though a blockade of the island seems more likely than a full-scale invasion. But either move would trigger retaliation from Taiwan's allies and might close the Malacca Strait, blocking China's energy supplies from the Gulf. So China has been investing in infrastructure to provide insurance against this scenario. In Myanmar, it has played both sides in the country's brutal civil war to safeguard its interests, which include protecting a 2,500 kilometers oil and gas pipeline linking China to the Indian Ocean. That provides an alternative route for energy supplies from the Gulf, but China's meddling makes an end to the conflict in 2026 less likely. Similar logic explains China's efforts to develop an overland rail link from western China to Pakistan's port at Gwadar, on the Arabian Sea. But the project has been delayed and scaled back amid high costs and concerns that it will leave Pakistan in debt. Another infrastructural insurance policy protects against different risks. A railway through Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan that will link China more closely to Europe, bypassing Russia. This would help China send more goods to Europe as Donald Trump's tariffs hamper Chinese exports to America. It would also provide a hedge against China falling out with Russia. 6. Why it's a good year to go to Mars. The best time to send a spacecraft efficiently from Earth to Mars is when Earth is 44 degrees behind Mars in its orbit. A craft launched at this point can use a Hohmann transfer orbit, the most fuel-efficient path, which is an elliptical trajectory that just touches both planets' orbits. But the required alignment only arises just before Earth overtakes Mars on its way round the Sun, which happens once every 26 months. The next such opportunity is in late 2026, when Elon Musk hopes to send one or more uncrewed Starship rockets to the Red Planet. If he misses that chance, which seems likely, he will have to wait until late 2028. 7. How the 2026 solar eclipses compare with previous ones. Not all solar eclipses are created equal. As the moon passes directly between the Earth and the Sun, the path of the lunar shadow during a total eclipse sometimes passes over land. But on other occasions, an eclipse may be visible, for most of its duration, only at sea, from boats positioned along the path of totality, or in sparsely populated regions. The Great North American Eclipse of April 2024 was conveniently visible from parts of Mexico, the United States, and Canada. But the two eclipses on offer in 2026 will not be so cooperative to human observers. An annular eclipse on February 17, 2026, will be visible only from Antarctica, a difficult place to get to at the best of times. And the path of totality for the total solar eclipse on August 12 passes over Greenland, Iceland, and parts of northern Spain. The point of greatest eclipse occurs just to the west of Iceland, but the weather is more likely to be cooperative in sunny Spain, so eclipse chasers may consider that to be a safer bet. Solar eclipses can be predicted millennia in advance. The weather, alas, cannot be.